Silent as the sun, free as the wind. This was the picture that hung over my dad's desk until he passed away. He never let go of his dream of wind power for rural America. I hope it helps you understand how electricity changed the way we live. In the 1930s, electricity was common in 90% of urban America, but only 10% of rural areas had electricity. Getting electricity to the farms and ranches in areas where neighbors were miles, not blocks apart, was a difficult task. It wasn't cost-effective to run electricity to the remote ranches of the West. Wind power was predominantly used to pump water for cattle. Replacing the pump with a generator and adding a governor to control the prop speed and batteries to store the electricity, and the problem was solved. My dad was very open to new ways to make money. He had a garage, service station, and post office in Keyline, Wyoming. It was located on U.S. Highway 20, a well-graded dirt road at that time. Early in the morning on a typical winter night, 22 below zero, it caught fire. Keyline, like many small communities, didn't have a fire department or electricity to pump water to put out a fire. I had always wondered how Dad got involved with the Wind Charger Corporation. While I was putting the pictures together for this story, I realized the old hand-pumped gas pumps were gone. They were electric pumps in front of the new garage and a 32-volt wind charger behind it. In the process of building the new garage, he had contacted the Wind Charger Corporation and became the Wyoming distributor. Before electricity, life was a dawn-to-dusk event. There was several types of lighting available. Most of it wasn't great for reading or other activities. I remember going to people's houses and the adults sitting around the kitchen table under a gas lamp or kerosene lantern, visiting or sometimes playing cards after dinner. The fuel for these lamps created many fires in the early days. Indoor plumbing wasn't available without electricity. Water didn't just appear when you turned on a faucet. It was pumped with a hand pump in the yard and carried into the house for drinking or to be heated on the wood stove. Our outhouse was in the corner of the lot by the garden and the chicken coop. The wind electric business was good during the Second World War. In 1943, Dad sold a garage and post office in Keyline and opened an office in Casper. Lots of things were rationed during the war, including gasoline. Because Dad's business was in agriculture, we received extra gas stamps, so we could travel more than most families. I was able to travel with him in the summer, giving me a chance to see how people lived and worked on the land in the wide open spaces of Wyoming. I also got to see the change electricity made in the lifestyle on a rural ranch. Today, we turn on a light bulb without much thought. But in the 30s and 40s, it was exciting to see the changes for many people. The dangerous fuels were eliminated and replaced with light bulbs that came close to the light of day. Lighting was the first change. But when we look around at our homes of the 21st century, many conveniences have been added. It's interesting how quickly the luxuries of yesterday have become the necessities of today. I remember listening to a record on a hand-crank record player, and today it's replaced by an iPod that's smaller than a deck of cards. Before the 1940s in rural America, most houses were not designed to include electricity and plumbing. After a wind charger was sold, the work really started. Several things had to happen before you could turn on a light bulb. Wires were run from the generator to the storage site for the batteries. The batteries were filled with sulfuric acid, so they couldn't be placed in the house. They were typically put in an old chicken coop or shack, sometimes even in a root cellar. Then lines were run to the house and other outbuildings where power was needed. Porcelain insulators were used to separate the wires to eliminate the possibility of shorting out the system. Working in an attic with a hand brace and bit was a slow process. The result was worth the effort. Because of the war effort, technology was felt in the wind electric industry. Aluminum replaced wood in the propellers. They were a lot lighter and could be feathered mechanically to reduce the RPM of the generator. These advances made it possible to generate 110 volts with a 3 mile per hour wind speed by the mid-40s. Smaller motors became available, which provided more tools like sheep shearers, milking machines, and mixers for the kitchen and other uses. I remember going out to a large sheep ranch one year and watching them shear sheep by hand. The next year we were back as they sheared with electric clippers. The difference in production per hour was amazing. I'm sure it made a big difference in the number of animals a large ranch could handle during shearing. After the end of World War II, the Rural Electrification Agency made government loans available to ranches, and transmission lines were run out to the distant ranches. Wind energy, with its ability to provide power to remote sites with local storage, was replaced with miles of transmission lines. Windcharger was owned by Zenith Corporation. They sold the patents to some investors in Australia. Dad closed his business in 1948 and we moved to Boise, Idaho. He would never regain the motivation and the drive that he had in the years of serving the great rural people of Wyoming. It has been interesting to see the renewed interest in wind power and to look back at the experiences of my youth in Wyoming and the forgotten days of wind power. I still think that electricity generated with small systems on site could be a better and more effective solution to the miles of transmission lines spread across our country. It would be harder to interrupt electrical service. It would also have less environmental impact than the huge wind farms and the transmission lines required to get the power where it is needed.